Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power of Man podcast. My name is Rory Paquette. I am, as always, your incredibly grateful host. Thank you so much for being here. I've been saying this in a lot of our podcasts recently, but folks, I keep looking at our numbers and I just have to keep saying thank you and thank you and thank you. One more time, thank you. You folks have shown up. You really have. Ever since we made that switch to 5 days, you've been there, and that's why we get to keep bringing awesome people like this guy that we have on here today to you to help broaden your horizons, help give you some tips, help you with your lives. You guys all know that the job here is to help you be a better man tomorrow than you are today while we go out there and we fulfill our mission, which is to provide, protect, and lead our families. Gentlemen, that's what we do. This is how we do it. And I don't get to sit here and help you doing it if you're not out there doing your part. So thank you. Very grateful. Let's do what we got to do next. If you're a friend of the program, and I know you are, then you know what we got to do. Got to pay a couple of bills. So let me take a sip of my preferred beverage. Oh my gosh, I think I made that too hot today. Oh, really good though. Ooh, man, good stuff, you guys. And again, you're friends of the program. You know what it is. It's Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee over on Instagram. Look them up, check them out. Deep, dark, rich, bold, and beautiful, just like my wife. Telling you right now, they brew a mean bean. It's an awesome cup of Joe, and you guys are going to love it. They do all the right things for all the right reasons, and they support veterans, which is why we support them, because you know how important veterans are here at the Power of Man podcast. Folks, go out, check them out at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Tell them that Power of Man sent you. One more of these, and you know we'll be kicking that through the entire episode. Let me introduce our awesome guest today. Very like-minded young guy here coming on the program. Please introduce executive life coach and advisor and author of the book, The Life That Matters Manifesto, Adam Landrum. Adam, how you doing?
Rory, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on today. I appreciate you. You have, we both have some very similar ideas. I really enjoyed our pre-interview talk and our back and forth. Before we get going with all of that, though, just give everybody an idea of, who is Adam Landrum?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'll jump in and do that. First of all, I just want to say I'm completely jealous of like your radio voice. Like it should be illegal. Uh, and
Thanks for that. I
so
appreciate it.
I'm talking a little bit deeper now to myself. And it sounds nothing like you, I'm sure. And also, I have recently gotten into pour overs coffee, and I don't know if your listeners do that or if Freedom Hill advises that, but I want to get some Freedom Hill coffee and put it through my grinder, and I do AeroPress. Have you ever heard of AeroPress before?
I have.
Yeah,
Yeah. They're
yeah.
they're
So I'm
they
gonna.
sell the beans and they sell the pre-ground stuff. So I'm telling you, it's
Okay.
really good coffee. I drink it all the time.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get some beans, and it's gonna go through the AeroPress. So.
It's awesome.
All right. So yeah, a little bit about me. Well, first of all, I'm from Northern Indiana, where you hail from, I believe, and a little town called Elkhart. Made my way to Clemson, where I became an accounting major. Went out west to work with Arthur Anderson. They're no longer around. Maybe some of the listeners remember that. And I found out really quickly that I did not want to be an accountant. I was actually an auditor. Like, like nobody wants the auditor to show up, right? It's just a thankless, it's even worse than a thankless job.
Yeah.
And I call it my quarter life crisis. I had just I passed the CPA, I devoted a ton of time, and it was the wrong career for me. And that will become a little bit relevant, as we talk. But I'd always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so I started my business as a web development firm. We actually moved back to Atlanta. I married a girl from South Carolina when at Clemson. So, and I started a web development firm in Atlanta. And that evolved into an agency. And we became one of the leading brand and marketing agencies for higher ed. So universities and colleges. And after 22 short years, you said this young guy. I think you introduced me as this young man, which makes me laugh. I'm 51.
Are you
So
really?
yeah, I'm 51 young, years young. So after 22 years of that, I sold it about 18 months ago. And now I get to do what I call really is like the second act in the second half. Um, and that um, and that's why I'm doing executive coaching, in particular, helping men make that transition into the second half as well.
That's awesome. So you've been into entrepreneurship for a very long time. This isn't a new foray for you into that area.
Yeah, no, it's very natural for me to transition into this. And actually, I got my coaching certifications in, I have two, and one in 2016 and one in 2018, because I used it within my business, and I've been coaching, so, for 8 years now, two or three
Nice.
people at a time, but now it's full time. Yeah.
Nice. So not your first rodeo by any stretch.
Nope. This is the second rodeo. And what happens a lot with founders who successfully exit think they have the Midas touch. I'm not going to pretend I have the Midas touch, like, everything's going to be successful. So I'm still working hard and gotta earn my keep and all that good stuff. But man, I love this. I'm passionate about it, and that's what I want. I hope all men could do in their work, right? Is love and be passionate about what they do.
I love
So.
that. I absolutely love that. So many men are stuck right exactly in the spot that you're talking about, and that you and I talked about, beforehand. We follow a path. Some of us just go to college, get a job. Some of us come out, just get a job. It's all about, protect, provide your family. You got to do what you got to do, especially when you have young kids. I mean, if it's not your dream job, but it's paying, you go to work. But right when you get into that second act, when you start to get up to, which I can't even believe I'm saying our age. I thought you were like in your 30s, bro. I don't know what your skincare regimen is, but I got to try it because
Yeah,
man,
we'll put it in the show notes.
you
Yeah.
look like 10 years younger than me. So, but when men hit that, that's when it really does hit us, and it's that you put it really well. High performing men are quietly struggling. That
Yeah.
was powerful when I read that. Um, Tell everybody what you meant by that exactly.
Yeah. I bet we'll tell so I'll lay it out. Let me know if you relate to this because I know you have two kids in their 20s, right?
Two in their 20s, one that's in 32.
Okay, got it. So all right, and I have four kids. I probably should have mentioned that. And I've been married we're going on year 28 this year in September.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. And it's so boy, girl, 23, 21, 19, 17. I started the business when my wife is 8 months pregnant with our first. I get diagnosed with a brain tumor at that time as well. Thankfully it was benign. Well, it would eventually kill me if I let it grow for 30 years. But
Wow.
we zapped it and it was benign. And but a stru it so 9/11 just had 9/11 happens. I mean, all this stuff happen like life is happening and right don't I think that's what we as men don't realize, like all of the responsibility and obligations they just start sort of piling on each other. And that's sort of the um silently or the quiet, I'm sorry, what was the quote? The quiet
Yeah, struggling. Yeah, just silently struggling.
the quiet struggling. And that's
Right.
what I experienced. I just felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulder and like sort of, early 40s, mid 40s, we start to ask, is this it? Like, is this all there is? Can I and can I keep doing it? And I think how does that story relate to you or does it?
Relates to me personally, actually. To be honest,
Okay.
I'm one of those guys. Built a big company, lost it all, spent 12 years bringing everything back, working three
Hmm.
jobs, the whole bit. But then when you get back, and it's like, okay, kids never had to leave their schools. You succeeded. They graduate. They all take off because you've done a
Yeah,
great job, right, of raising
right,
them to live without you.
right.
Which then you go, wow, I did too good a job because they're all
Yeah.
gone now and they don't need me anymore. That's when you and your wife sit down on the couch one night and you look at each other and you're like, now what?
Right.
It's like, nice to meet you, because there's no one else to take the practice. There's nothing else. There's no one to make dinner for, and you have this whole, now what do we do? And a lot of men find themselves in that spot also, just from the conversations I have within, my private groups and stuff, is you get to that point and you're like, look, I've been working my whole life. I've been doing this. Maybe I don't have to anymore or as bad because the kids are gone, expenses are down, do we downsize? But yes, it hits really hard. That idea of that there's a definitive second act, and what the heck do we do now?
Yeah. You nailed it. And that's from coaching many men, that's the exact story that I'm hearing. And it's what I went to too. I'm practicing, like I said, I'm practicing what I preach here is, if I don't know if your listeners are familiar with the book Strength to Strength by Arthur Brooks. He basically talks about the the uh the first curve and the second curve.
Okay.
And the first curve is about problem solving, and there's you have a lot of I'd say warrior energy, and you're getting after it. You can work late nights, and if you look at like inventors and scientists, they all make their discoveries in their late 20s and early 30s,
Yeah.
and then they're done, right? It just stops, generally speaking. The second curve is crystallized thinking, and this is where like wisdom and mentorship and so happens. And so it's just a really interesting research that he uncovers and lays out, and it's a natural transition. Like, but so many men keep trying to live the first half you know of all that energy, right, that took to have kids or like have a family, start a business, and then they just keep doing it forever, and we're just not made to do that. Um, uh, James Hollins is an author too, and a young psychoanalyst, and he talks about the first half is about achieving and succeeding and giving the world what it wants. And the second half is about what does my soul want?
Mm.
And the soul starts speaking up and says, "Hey, don't forget about me. You've been providing for everybody else and doing all your stuff and even serving our ego, right? Now I want my time." And so what does the soul want? So those two with Brooks and Hollins, they really overlap. And so it's a biological thing as much as it is a societal thing. And so I've just keep seeing that pattern over and over again.
What
So
does the
did
soul want? I like that.
what yeah, so have you seen that how has that shown up? You said you did your first business, then had to build back. Like, I mean, it even seems like this podcast might be a soul request.
Um, I I uh I had to have a couple of really horrible physical experiences to
Mm.
really knock me in the head with it. This is what I do for a living. I have
Ah, cool.
multiple podcasts. I do coaching, and I coach people on how to do podcasts. So and this is my job. It's my full-time job, and I never would have dreamed I'd be doing that. But I went through that exact thing you're talking about. So I mean,
Mm.
everything you're saying, I'm just sitting here nodding my head, going,
Yeah.
hmm. And for a long time, I didn't. I resisted it. And it was like, God or the universe or whoever, you want to credit things to was telling me, hey, wake up. And I finally had to have a really bad physical issue just
Mm.
knock me down this past year to go, why are you not just doing this 100%, devoting all your time to this? And I went, I don't know why I'm not doing that. And life's too short, clearly, because I almost lost mine. And you kind of go, you know what? I'm done. I'm not working for anybody else anymore. I'm not putting up with any of this stuff anymore. We won't have as much money, but we'll be fine. And the wife and I are doing all that right now. It's incredibly empowering. But it took being in the hospital, like almost dying on the way in.
Wow.
I mean, I
Yeah.
stopped breathing in the foyer of the emergency room.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? So it was like, it was bad, but it took that because prior to that, I was like all these other guys that I talked to, Adam, and it was like, this is what I do. This is what I've always done. And if you do anything for you because it's what you want, you feel selfish. You feel like you're letting everybody else down. You feel like
Right.
you're not fulfilling your responsibilities. because that's how you've lived for decades. I would love to turn the question around on you, brother, and say, what do you tell men in terms of how do you start to change that programming?
Yeah. Well, I want to note, so how do you change that programming? There's something called the change formula. And so it sounds like you went through, and I think probably what both you and I are trying to help men do is not have a near-death experience to make the change that is needed.
Yeah, make
Right.
the
So
change
I
before that
would,
happens.
yeah, exactly. And so, a lot of people work themselves to death. They burn out, have a heart attack, what, and so the change formula requires that you have it's the formula is V times D, and then there's more to the formula, but the V times the D is the important part. V is vision, and and D is discomfort. So how big is your vision and how big is your discomfort?
Hmm,
So we know math, right? If either of those are zero, you're not going to change.
for sure.
So oftentimes I'll be like, "Ooh, I want to do this change." And I'm like, "Okay, well, how's my vision?" And, "Oh, it's pretty good." And how's my discomfort right now? I'm like, "Oh, there is no discomfort. I just know change isn't going to happen." And so you had a near death experience. That's massive discomfort.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking right now. I'm like, my
Yes.
discomfort was huge.
Huge.
So,
And you had a vision, right?
yeah,
Of podcasts. And
uh,
so you had a really high you had a lot of inertia to make change, and you did. But I like the second part of what you said too, is like, we feel guilt for what it feels self-indulgent to do what I want to do and to do my passion. And I'm supposed to deny myself and serve others, and all these messages that we get. The second, I think it's the second chapter in my book is is to be selfish, permission to be selfish, and just focus on you. And it's the idea that in the airplane when they say in an event of emergency, put the mask on someone else, or
yourself, right?
yeah, on yourself first.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Before you put it on your kids or whatever. And I think that's what we did. We neglected ourselves in our 30s and our 40s to an extent. I mean, we're all a little bit selfish, right? But and we didn't take care of ourselves. And now this is when the soul is starting to knock on the glass and say, hey, what about us? What about us? What are we going to do?
Giving yourself that permission is hard because, one of the things that I actually do preach, to be honest, is, you do have to take care of the people who depend on you have to be more important to you than you are to you when they're dependent on you.
Right.
And what happens is a lot of guys take that and go, okay, well then I just can't do anything good for myself. And that's not the case. Look, go work out, eat better, read, take classes. But if there's four people at the dinner table and there's three pieces of chicken, who goes hungry? The guy that was supposed to provide the fourth piece of chicken. That's it.
Right.
It's like as simple as that. So, I mean, yeah, I want to have my bowling night with the guys, but if my kids got the recital, then you know what? I'm going to that because that's more important. You know what I mean? When they're grown and the people who depend on you are no longer depending on you anymore, then making that switch is just very, very difficult because
It
guys
is.
don't take it that way.
Right.
Now it's time, guys. They're taking care of themselves. You're okay. Go do something for you. Don't wait until your heart stops.
Yeah, and I think you're bringing up a good point, is that's when you realize the purpose vacuum. And I've never coined that phrase before, so it's copyrighted now on Rory's podcast.
It's all
But
yours, brother.
the the purpose, like purpose was prescribed for us a little bit, right? With based on the responsibilities and obligations that, by the way, we chose to do for the most part. We chose those, but once those responsibilities start easing off, what where's my purpose now? What am I supposed to do? And that's that I think that is the question to be answered. And I have a saying. I think men need three things. They need to know their purpose, have a vision, and be on a mission.
Hmm.
And the mission part is the adventure or the quest. And, just think about assuming it's college, a traditional trajectory, if you will, and not you certainly not everybody has to go to college. That's completely fine. But college, you get married, you get your first job, you buy a house, you have kids, you move, cross country, you do all these things. Like that's a huge adventure. Like you are on this massive, and then all of a sudden, adventure ends, and you're
Right.
like, oh crap, now what? Now what? And so I think it starts, in my experience, it starts with purpose and really nailing that down.
I think that's said beautifully. I mean, purpose, vision, mission. Um, and yeah, it does start with the purpose. So, I mean, now the book itself that you wrote, is that a self-help type manual? Is it educational? Is it action steps? Tell me about how the book relates to, purpose, vision, mission.
Yeah, great question. So, a quick fun story with the book is in 2021. I have a wonderful, wonderful wife, and I just said I was feeling the pressure of, as a business owner, I went through COVID, right, and had to deal with that, and I just said I think I need to get away. I need to take a sabbatical. And she said, go. I mean, she didn't even hesitate. She's like, yeah, you're gonna melt down if you don't get out of here. And so I went to Utah. And I was gonna rent like a VRBO for like a month, but it's gonna be like $10,000. I was like, and go back to the selfish thing. It's like I do not want to spend $10,000 on myself. So I went through this
Right.
this website called Trusted House Sitters. I don't know if you've ever heard of this thing, but we use it to have people come watch house sit our house and watch our pets, our dogs, when we go on vacation. And they come for free. And um, so we don't have to send the dogs to the kennel. It saves us like $800 every time we go on, spring break and stuff like that. And it's better for the dogs. And it's beautiful. It's sort of like Airbnb with pets, but it's free to them and it's free to us, other than, $100 a year to the website. Well, anyway, I said, why don't I go sit some dogs? So I found this multi-million-dollar house outside of Park City with two little dogs. And that's where I went for my sabbatical. And I wrote my book in 2.5 weeks. I mean, it just poured out of me.
Wow.
So again, that book is the Life That Matters Manifesto. It's actually right here. I don't know if that's backwards, but
No, looks good.
all right. And so and you really nailed it. What I didn't want was just to write a philosophical book on what it means to live a life that matters. And you read it and you sort of forget it, right? Well, in one ear, out the other. And so I also made it a workbook. So it's half book, half workbook. Um, and because it takes work. This is not to live your purpose and to integrate that into your life. It's not a snap of the fingers. It's not a magic wand. It's a process. And so I wanted to create a tool that would be pragmatic and it would really help people make that transition.
Nice. Nice. Workbook. So I guess that answers the question about action steps. Yes, it definitely has action steps if there's a workbook in there.
Yes, it does. And you can and actually I'm working on creating a course for it. I will coach people one-on-one through it. I'm actually coaching a Jeopardy champion right now. Um, and then you can download the workbook online too. So you can download it through my website, madetomatter.coach, and fill it out as many times as you want, doing it that way. Yeah.
That's
So
cool. That's
yeah.
awesome. I'm still kind of stuck. I mean, you unpacked quite a bit in that last couple of statements. You took a sabbatical away from the family, away from the wife for 2 weeks alone
No, for a month actually,
for a month.
and alone. I'm gonna end. So one, there's a lot of things going on here, right?
Every
So
guy on the whole podcast just went, "How did that happen?"
yeah, I write about it a little bit. I do most of my writing on LinkedIn, and so you can find me there. But yeah, I mean it's not normal, right? It's not, well, it's not normal. What how old were my kids? This is 3 years ago. So they moved in 2018, 16, 14, right? So son's still home. Um, but I just have my wife and I have a marriage and a relationship where we look out for each other. Um, and that has worked really well. So if I see that she's stressed, I'll be like, "Hey, you need to go get away with the girls tonight, right? Like go like, or go on a girls' weekend or something to that point." So for me to say I need to get away, that didn't surprise her.
Wow.
Yeah. So and then I actually flew my wife out halfway through. She spent a long weekend. That was great. That was this is fun. This is a funny story too, Rory. I go mountain biking. I'm training for a trail race while I'm out there. It's a 7 mile, 3,000 elevation trail race, and I'm an average runner, but I'm also thick-headed and like challenges like that. But I'm supposed to pick her up at the airport at 10 a.m. So I go on a quick mountain bike ride. And so it's an electric mountain bike, but it has these really small wheels. And you can't tell because I'm sitting down, but I'm 6'4". So I'm riding it, I probably look like a circus clown riding this bike on a mountain. And I don't even like mountain biking. And I wipe out and I didn't know what I did, but I ended up breaking my shoulder and dislocating my shoulder. And it looked like a grizzly bear had raked my forearm. And so that's how I picked my wife up with like half a shoulder. And I'm like, "Hey,
Nice.
honey."
Nice. And she shows up and she's like, "What are you doing to yourself out here all
Yes,
alone?"
she's like, "Take care of yourself." I was going through it, when was that? 3 years ago. So I was 48. I would say that was sort of I don't love midlife crisis, but let's just go with it. That was sort of the crescendo of my midlife crisis where I was just questioning what's going on? What am I going to do? And
Yeah.
yeah, so is it much needed break.
That's now did you have to give her a month off too?
No, I gladly would though. She wouldn't take it. She's an extrovert and so she wouldn't do it. But um yeah, I have to encourage her to go do those things. And she loves it when she does it, but she's not gonna do it naturally.
Wow. I know that wasn't the point of the story, but that just really hung me up because I know
Yes.
most guys, if they said to their wives, "Hey, I'm going to take a month and just go off by myself," the wife would be like, "I'm sorry, excuse me,
Yes.
you what? I haven't had a vacation how many years, and you're leaving for a month? I don't think so." So
Yeah, more credit, a lot of credit to her. But we've always been we're not a tit for tat relationship. It's not like you know, I go play golf so she gets to go shopping. Like we don't. Very early we established that's not how we were gonna
nice,
do our marriage. We weren't gonna
nice.
keep score. Yeah.
All right. I mean, you're already an enlightened guy going into this whole thing, obviously. So, coming up with some of these ideas makes a lot of sense. I really liked the V times D. I thought that was cool. That just is such a simple way of looking at it
Yeah.
and of breaking it down. Did you create that or did you get that from somewhere else?
No, I got that from somewhere who they got it from somewhere.
Okay.
But yeah, there's more to it. It's plus first steps is greater than resistance, and it gets a little complicated. But the idea, I mean, it makes sense, right?
Oh
If you
yeah.
have a big enough vision and you have big enough discomfort, you will change. You'll find a way to change, or you're going to be miserable.
Right.
You're going to be miserable if you don't.
So does the book, The Life That Matters Manifesto, does that help guys break out of that 1 day myth that we talked about, before the podcast that people are kind of living under?
The what? Remind me the 1 day
The
myth.
1 day myth where I'll get to it one day. I'll do it one
Oh
day.
yeah, yeah. I think. Well, it should. I mean. So the byline of the book is the 11 principles to know and commit to live a life that matters. So, um, yeah, I mean it's a good place to start. I would say it's an easy read. It's not a super thick book. Um, um, but yeah, there's never that one day, right? Though well, there is that one day. That one day is today.
Today is that
That's
one day. I
yeah,
got you.
because tomorrow will always be tomorrow, right? So, Yeah, a lot of what I talk about, if you're really going to own your purpose, it comes down to commitment. Like it's just and just like you were a business owner, right? And to did you start that business?
I did, my
Okay.
own two hands, bootstrapped it the whole bit.
Yeah. And so as fellow business owners, I think we know that how you start a business? You start a business, you do it, you
You just
jump
do
in,
it.
you jump like, and it doesn't make any sense. It should scare the what out of you, but it's the same with purpose. It's to a lot of people it's really scary to talk about your purpose. And so that one day when you're going to do that and you're going to make that transition to your second half career or vocation or whatever you're going to do, yeah, it starts today if you
Is,
want it to.
is there more to finding or to helping guys find their purpose than the V times D? Is that part of
Oh,
the book, finding your purpose and sort of figuring out which direction you want to go?
yeah, so manifesto number one, so there's 11 parts of the manifesto is all about purpose. And so I walk people through where to start, and I can give you the at least my essence, my theory on it. First of all, let's define what purpose is. So you want to take a crack at it? You want to take a crack at defining what purpose is?
Defining what purpose is.
Yeah.
Your purpose would be a meaning, a desire, and a meaning that drives your actions towards a goal. How about
Yeah.
that? I don't know.
No, I think that's a lot of the essence of it. And I talk about essence around purpose and vision a lot because so much time is wasted trying to wordsmith it exactly. So just go with the essence. But um, so I think those are elements of purpose. How I would define purpose is what you were made to do, why you exist. And it sort of sterilizes it, but it's true. It's like, what is your function? So, and what is it that you're supposed to be bringing to the world? Like you were designed uniquely to bring something to the world, and what is it? And that can be intimidating if you adopt that definition. But if Rory, if we think about everything in the world, um, animals and rocks and plants and oceans and rivers, everything has a function. There's only one thing in this world that can decide not to live their purpose, not do their purpose. Animals do their purpose. A lion is a lion, a squirrel is a squirrel. Like they don't choose to be something else, right? They all have the purpose, and but man can go, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not even gonna find out what it is. I'm not even gonna find out what it is. I'm just gonna exist.
Right.
And so really getting down to that utility of how have you been created and crafted and formed in a way. And I'm talking about like personality and strengths and passions. I think your experiences and circumstances speak to that. And it shapes you to do, to bring your purpose to the world.
As a lot of these guys start trying to figure that out, I have a lot of conversations with guys about, because we all start with our job, it seems like.
Mhm.
What's your purpose? You immediately think job.
Yep.
And for many men, that's what has defined us forever. Of course, we're father, we're husband, but then when someone meets you, what do they ask you? What do you do?
What do you do? Yeah.
Right.
First question.
Right. So no one says, who are you? They say, what do you do? Because that's the
And if
next thing.
you're and if you live in the South, the next question is, where do you go to church?
There you go. And so, especially in Indiana, I mean, guys, there's a lot of blue collar mentality. There's a lot of guys who have just done the same thing over and over and over. But we get to this point where we're trying to find our purpose. And so we start immediately thinking job. And one of the conversations I have a lot with men is starting side hustles, starting your own business slowly, without leaving your day job, that type of thing. And so it seems like that's the segue. Starting your side hustle, trying to find out what it is that you're passionate about and trying to make some money doing it seems to be the sort of the preferred way of trying to find your
Yeah.
purpose. Um, I guess, do you find that also, and is that a healthy way to go about doing it?
No, I think the word I would use there is if you are doing your purpose in your job, I would call that a vocation. And a vocation is a job with a calling,
Hmm.
right? And I like to say is you can't not do your calling. You can't, you actually can't not do your purpose. Double negative intended. So so I think that's a great expression of your purpose, but you bring up a great point. So purpose is forever, right? It's a definitive, it doesn't change. But how you express your purpose changes all the time. So those are missions, different missions that you'll go on throughout your life. Their roles, right? You know, what we as fathers, we have a purpose, and as a father, we probably execute on that purpose, you know, in that role. But that the role doesn't necessarily end, but it certainly changes. And then like if you can do your purpose in your job, oh my gosh, what a blessing. Because you know, we're at work more than we are at home.
Right.
And so if you can, the majority of your life can be doing your purpose and you actually get paid for it, like that is so I think that's what men are going for, why they want to do the side hustle, because they're maybe that it's going about it. It's a good question. Maybe they're going about it a little bit backwards. And not that that's wrong, but they're trying to sort of figure out what their purpose is by doing the work versus figuring out what your purpose is and then doing the work.
Sure. It's almost like the side hustle is a way to take what you think your purpose is for a trial run and then
Correct.
see how see how it works out.
Yeah.
Maybe that wasn't my purpose because this is terrible.
Yes, this is awful. Like, what do you mean not to send invoices and follow up with people? And
Right.
so you might find out you don't like the business part, but I bet whatever that side hustle is that person does, I bet that is close to their purpose. So the essence of the purpose is there.
Yeah.
And I just I say it in the book is like, you know your purpose. Everyone knows their purpose, but it's so hard to articulate it. Like
Right.
if you coach them or I coach them around their purpose and they you know they finally come out with it, I don't think it's going to be a surprise to people to go, oh, that's my purpose. I didn't know that. Most
Excellent.
people go, yeah, that makes sense.
So, what made you put all this down in book form? I mean, what drove you to actually write the book?
Yeah, good question. Um, I've been a student of purpose since my early 20s, maybe even teens. One of my theories is that or again, I probably stole this theory from somebody else. So but your purpose, a lot of your purpose is defined by what was missing in your childhood, or maybe childhood trauma, if you want to go down that road. But what was missing in my childhood was meaning and significance, um, slash purpose, right? My parents divorced when I was 3 years old. Like I said, I was the youngest of five boys, or I think I told you that in the pre-interview. So I'm the youngest of five boys, and my brothers, you know, you or as a 3 year old, I'd hope my brothers would take care of me, but instead they, you know, like would beat me up, and I bust their chops, I guess. I bust their chops all the time about that. Like, you didn't. I had to not only did I have to figure out my parents divorced, but I had to defend myself against you guys. Um, and so, you know, significance and meaning was, it just didn't exist. We didn't go to church. I didn't even I had never even heard about Jesus or the gospel growing up. And so yeah, so I became really interested in this idea of purpose, and just I probably have read about every book that's been published on the subject. I'm sure there's a couple out there. And so this is a little bit a me synthesizing all the stuff I've been studying for 30 years, 25 years, and really believe and have integrated into my life, and just I just wanted to, it's almost like a cheat sheet for people who are interested in purpose but never read a book on purpose. It's like, here, this has like 25 books in it. I can save you a lot of time. So that's
Nice.
what it just poured out of me. It was a really fun process writing. Hey, by the way, have you written a book, or you have any thoughts of writing a book?
I've written two, and
Oh, cool.
I have one, hopefully the best one, that's in progress right now. So,
Oh,
yeah. So the first one was about sales, called the Lone Wolf Selling System. It was a cute little
okay.
book, but you know, first attempt.
Yep.
And then the second one was about my weight loss journey because I used to be gigantic.
Oh,
I had a
okay.
horrible time when I was, younger, and I mean, I'm not svelte now or anything, but I'm under control. And
Yeah.
man, yeah, so it's called the 5% diet, and that actually
5%.
did really well. Yeah.
Okay. Did you do a procedure or did you
Nope.
do this through diet? You did it through diet and sheer willpower?
Diet, exercise, willpower, and by just taking 5% off every single thing you eat, every single time you eat, a little tiny, that's it. It
Very
worked
cool.
worked like a dream, man. It actually very very good selling book on Amazon. I've been very happy with that one.
Oh, very nice.
So yeah, 5%. Most of the guys here, I think, that are listening probably have read it, or I've given it away to them at some point or something.
Okay.
But yeah, so I have great respect for people who write, the kind of book that you write. I have one on the Power Man principles coming out that I'm really putting a lot of time into. So hopefully that'll be the best one. But I appreciate you asking.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
bet.
So, but your book, honestly, everything about your book sounds like you really got what you wanted out of it. I mean, was this the finished product that you envisioned when you sat down and said, "I'm going to write a book"?
I heard a quote recently that I think Stephen King said it. He said, there are two type of authors. The author that does a very structured outline and starts writing, and then there's the author that just starts writing and the book reveals itself. Sort of like the Michelangelo quote of like, he freed David from the rock, right? He didn't carve David, he freed him from the rock, or he let the rock become David. Um, so I'm more of I start writing and let the book take form. I thought it was a magical process. It was just really interesting. And when you write, it really sharpens what you think, right? It
Sure,
really it and to put yourself out there, I mean, it's scary, right? And it takes courage, and so man, I think it's the gift that keeps on giving. And I too, I've read that your first book is not going to be your best book, and but I have a glowing review from my wife when she read the book when I got back. She read it and she said, um, "That was actually pretty good."
almost in disbelief, right?
Yeah, I was
Like,
like, I think I'll take that as a compliment. But that's the feedback I've had is that like, oh, like this is a real book. This is like good job, Adam. And but I'm working on my second book. It's a story of transformation, really men in their second half and how they transform their lives. And I'm going to interview 100 people and write that book based on their stories. And so I'm super excited about that. So
beautiful,
look for that in 2026. Yeah.
beautiful. Now, where this book, The Life That Matters Manifesto, where is that available? All the
It's on,
platforms, Amazon, and everywhere? Or?
yeah, it's
Okay.
on Amazon. Yep,
And is it on your website too?
it is. Yep.
Okay. And is it ebook, hardcover, audiobook, all the above?
It's Kindle and paperback.
Oh, it is. Okay, good deal. No
Yep.
audiobook yet, huh?
And I'm gonna have you do the audiobook because
Don't joke. I'll do that
no,
for you.
I, I what's that?
Don't joke. I'll do that for you.
I know, I'm sure you would.
Absolutely.
I actually bought a cabin and I mean it's a log cabin and I'm making it like when you walk in, you would say, I could write a book in this place.
Nice.
And that is where I need to go. I'm gonna go record my audiobook.
Excellent.
I gotta get it done. So
Excellent. All right. Yeah, it's funny. My boys go either way. My older son loves the books, like the hardcover, not the Kindle, but an actual book in his hand, a paperback or a hardcover.
yeah.
Really loves that. And my younger son doesn't want anything to do with an actual book.
Mm.
But give him an ebook or an audiobook, especially an audiobook, and he will consume books like there's no tomorrow. But
Yeah.
they both have their method of consumption, and they will not deviate no matter what.
Yes. Yeah, that is
So,
funny. I mean, I'm even a hybrid. I read fiction all day long on my Kindle. But business books, self-help books, it has to be paper.
there
Like
you
I
go.
gotta write in it, underline, stuff like that.
Yeah, you got to work through it, make it
Yeah,
your book. I'm
right.
with you 100%. That's great. All right. Okay. So the next book is in 26, you said.
Yes,
All right.
I
I
hope
just
so. I
making
hope
a
so.
making a note. Well, you got a cabin. I mean, come on. What's stopping
Yeah.
you?
Yes, I know. I just gotta get up there and write it. Well,
Exactly.
I gotta schedule all these interviews too. But yeah,
Beautiful.
if anyone's listening and you have a transformation story, I'd love to hear from you. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Well,
Adam at madetomatter.coach. Um, but I sort of what I have my hypothesis of what it takes for a man to transform themselves, but I want to, verify that and learn new things when I interview folks. So I'm excited to dive into that research really.
I'm making a note right now to put that in the show notes. Send it to you. If there's an actual transformation story,
Yeah.
we'll make sure we include that. All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Listen, Adam, I appreciate all your time. I know you've got, kind of a hard stop coming up here shortly. You got some place to go. Appreciate you giving the time you have. It's been very generous, and you've been a great guest. I want to sort of give you the floor for the next, minute or two to kind of close us out and wrap things up. What I will say to you is this: if there's anything that I forgot to bring up, or maybe there's something that you want to emphasize a little more, or at the very least, a nugget that you want to leave behind for everybody as kind of a parting thought. Any of those things, the floor is yours for the next minute or two. What do you got?
Great. Well, thank you for that opportunity. And I feel, well, I'll just roll with it. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for having me on the show and also thank your listeners and the audience that you've built. It's great work that what you're doing.
Thanks.
And I can tell it aligns with your purpose and it's very meaningful. But I just want to encourage men. There's a lot of mystery around purpose and it can range from like, well, there is no purpose. It's the only purpose is God's purpose, right? And or I'm not uniquely I don't have a unique purpose. And I always say to that, a slotted spoon has a purpose. And if a slotted spoon has a purpose, to take solid objects out of liquid and drain the liquid drains, right? So you just have the solid object, then man, you have a purpose. And so I just want to encourage you and to find it and to know it. And then I'm just going to warn you, it's going to take courage for you to live it. And the number one ingredient to live it is commitment. Is just saying, I am going to do this. And sometimes you need help with that. So whether that's a coach or whether that's a friend or someone doing it, but I think it's life changing. And I'll go back to the purpose of people who say I call it the divine purpose theory, like we're only here to serve God. I would just remind you that God says that you are His masterpiece, and that He says that to live a life that you were saved for. And so I think glorifying God for those who believe um, is living your purpose, is living what He made you to do. And that's I'm super excited about men helping find that. And I guess I'll go into the what a little bit of what I do. One is career, so one is that vocation. So I coach men around that, and then two is Rory, exactly what you said is the man who wants to always wanted to start a business, wanted to open that hot dog stand, wanted to go out on his own, whatever it is. I coach around that as well, and then lastly is I'm forming a mastermind group for men who want to do this together and join in and do it in a community. And so I'm starting to form that. You can sign up on my website if you're interested. We plan to launch that in January of 2026, but it's going to be about 10 to 12 men that we get together 2 or 3 times a year, and we do Zoom calls monthly and support each other in living our purpose and accomplishing our mission
Awesome.
towards that bigger vision. So thanks for the opportunity for me to share that. And thanks again, Roy, for having me on your show.
I love it. That's a great closing. Great closeout. I love that you threw that stuff in there too. And
Cool.
yeah, that mastermind sounds pretty interesting. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Oh,
We'll see.
cool.
That's great. Yeah, and so we got your website. I'll make sure that's in the show notes, and everybody should be able to find this stuff. And I'm really looking forward to reading the book. So I will. I'm going to read that, and then I'll shoot you a note, let you know I'm done, and tell you how great it was.
All right. I
So
love it. Tell me how bad it is. I'm open to all feedback, and I just remind everyone to buy their Freedom Hill coffee. And if you don't have an AeroPress, go get an AeroPress and make it delicious.
there you go. Plug for my sponsor at the end, man. What a guest. All right. Author, executive life coach, and advisor, author of the Life That Matters Manifesto, Adam Landrum. Thank you for being on the show today, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
It was awesome. Folks, this has been another awesome episode of the Power Man podcast. The reason that we bring these powerful men like this with these powerful messages on here is because our goal is for you to be a better man tomorrow than you are today. And everything that we do and everything that you do is all geared towards that purpose. We've all overcome adversity. We've all had to knock some things out. And if Adam and I can do it, so can you. You have value. You matter. You're worth it. You just got to believe it. Until next time.